recording. Yep, we're recording now. So welcome to our Empathy Cafe here at the Stoa. I'm Edwin Rutch. I'm director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. So for about the past 14 years, I've been working on, how do we create a more empathic culture in society? And we do all kinds of different projects around that. And from my experience, one of the easiest practices that I've found for fostering empathy and deeper listening is what I call the empathy circle. It's a process based on the work of Carl Rogers, who's considered one of the two or three most influential clinical psychologists, where you just by offering listening to others, that it's very healing and very supportive. And what we try to do is do mutual listening with each other and take it out of the therapeutic and just put it into the human relationship area. And this initially, I don't know, Peter, this was geared towards memetic mediation. So that's kind of how we got started with you. And the empathy circle, I would say, is one of the best sort of gateway practices for mediating conflict. So if you can get people from different points of view to gather into an empathy circle where they really can start hearing each other and understanding each other, it really unravels the Gordian knot of pretty much any conflict I find. So again, in terms of the mediation, for example, one project we have is we're going to be reaching out to congressional representatives. My congressman here in San Francisco Bay Area, where I'm located, has said he's willing to take part in an empathy circle. So we're going to be doing that in January with 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. So we're really trying to bring people from different sides together. The second thing is, or third or fourth, is that I've been talking with Peter that we want to set up a training. We have these empathy circle facilitator trainings that we do. They're 4 or 5 session trainings. We want to set one up for starting January 17th. So it'll be 5 sessions. So you're welcome to take part. It'll be 12 noon Pacific time. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. And Peter, did you want to say a little bit about that? How to sort of the onboarding process for that?
Yeah. So I did the empathy circle training. It was quite fun. So I'm official empathy circle trainer, and we thought it'd be cool to have empathy circle trainers at the Stoa to just take care of the wisdom gym, the empathy circle at the wisdom gym. That's going to be bi-weekly, restarting in February after the training. And then the idea there is that, the trainers can do empathy circle after a session or in between, like, big names or something like that are coming to the Stoa. So that's something that interests you. I think, Edwin, you can put that sheet in the chat if you like.
So I'm going to put the sign up. Let's see, where is that? I moved it around. There's a sign up sheet here. Okay, I'm putting all the links in here. There's if you're going to be recorded, the how-to empathy circle. So if you're wanting to know we're going to give a little introduction how-to, to take part in the empathy circle, but there is a PDF version. If you click on that, it'll bring up a PDF version that you can kind of have handy. And then for signing up for cohort 10, there's a link there. And you can also reach out to, I guess they don't need to reach out to you, right? It's just, they can just sign up there. Is that right, Peter? Yeah, so just go there. You'll see that link. You can add your name. And I was hoping, Shoshona, that you would be one of the trainees if you're willing to. Yeah, so I was going to reach out to you later to talk about that. But so if you've done the training before, you can be a trainee, which means you actually help present some of the training. And we want to not only teach you how to support you in becoming a facilitator, but how to train others in being facilitators. So you can take the training, a couple times. And then in February, as Peter was saying, that this team that's in this training would actually start facilitating trainings, not trainings, but empathy circles for the Stoa. So with that, I don't want to spring it on you, Shoshona, but would you be willing to introduce how the empathy circle works? So just the basic how-to for anyone that's hasn't seen the how-to videos.
Sure. Well, welcome to the Stoa and the Empathy Circle today, Empathy Cafe. So you'll be put into a breakout room with there'll be 4 of you. One will be a facilitator. And what happens is everyone has a role. There's an active speaker, an active listener, and then 2 silent listeners. And you'll be given a topic, which Peter has not yet disclosed to us, but always along with the topic, we all have the liberty to speak about whatever's alive for us. So if you just got a ticket and you're really angry, you can talk about that. So whatever's alive for you. But usually the topics are pretty interesting. So what'll happen is you'll begin to speak. The facilitator would say who would like to be the first speaker, and a person will volunteer, and that person now will select from the other 3 participants, ask us who will be my listener. So I could say, Edwin, would you please be willing to listen to me? Of course, he'll say yes. And the facilitator will set a timer for 5 minutes. And during that time, the active speaker will speak like a soundbite, like maybe a paragraph worth. You don't want to overwhelm your listener, but then then you'll pause, the speaker pauses. And the role of the active listener is to reflect back what the active speaker said. You can even use their own words, but you don't want to add commentary. You don't even want to affirm them. You just really want to reflect what they said. And then the active speaker will tell you, yes, that's what I meant, or they'll say, not quite, and they'll continue to clarify. That goes on back and forth for 5 minutes. Your facilitator will hold up a sign when your time is up and you want to wind up. If you're in the middle of speaking, finish your thought, and then that may be reflected. And then what happens is the active listener is now the active speaker, and we'll choose an active listener, and we just go on like that for about 90 minutes. Is that about right, Edwin?
Yeah, great. Thanks. That's what you learn in the facilitator training. We actually get to practice that multiple times, giving that presentation. So our topic is going to be what is your experience of the empathy circle? What is it like for you to be in this empathy circle? Are you, and what are the challenges, or what do you like? Challenges? Do you feel anxious? Does it feel anxious being here? Are you really enjoying being heard, or any sort of insights about the nature of the empathy circle? And as always, you can always talk about whatever's alive for you, as Shoshana was saying. And we have 5-minute turns. And when you start the circle, whoever's facilitating, that if you would just do a quick intro, the name, location where everyone is, just to introduce everyone in the circle, and then you can just step right into the circle. And we have and then at the last 15 minutes before the end, we go for 2 hours, 15 minutes before the end, we'll come back into this full group and just do a short debrief, and then we'll close. So I think we're...
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know how to get it so that I'm not recorded. I'm not sure how to do that, because this is my first time. So can someone just explain how I make it so
you
it
go
says
to the upper
don't
right hand.
record?
You go to the upper right-hand corner of your window. There's 3 dots.
Yeah.
And then you click on that, and it says rename, and you can add that no recording. But I think we're good with, we have a bunch of people who are willing to be recorded. So I think we're probably good. We're not going to take...
I said rename. That's good.
So Cody is going to be the person putting people in the room. So just be mindful, Cody, if don't put Laurie in a room with Edwin. And I think there's probably going to be 3 rooms that we'll have.
Thank you.
Yeah, Edwin, yours is the room recorded, correct?
Right, yeah.
Cool, just making sure.
The recording follows me, yep.
And we do want Edwin and Shoshana in separate rooms, yes?
Yeah, Shoshana will be facilitating one. And so you just want to say how many circles are you making? 3 or?
Yeah, it's going to be 3. It looks like 1 group of 5 and 2 groups of 4.
Okay, so who's going to be facilitating the 3rd? Is there someone who's put that they could facilitate?
Ron is, I think Ron would be.
Ron?
Yeah, I've seen you here a few times, so maybe.
Yeah, if you've done it a couple times, you just keep people on track. So it's pretty simple, the basics. So we're ready whenever you are to go into our circles.
Yep, I think I've got it. Let me just double check. Almost. Okay. And we're off. Let me just make sure our time. Do we have a time limit on this? I forget what the time is.
Yeah, it's a quarter till we close. So we will end and then come back to the full group. So give us 15 minutes at the end.
Is this a 2-hour session from 1:30?
2-hour session, right?
2-hour session. Okay, cool. So we've got an hour and a half. Cool.
And this will be one of the things when we do the facilitator training is the role that Cody is doing here to, how do you set up the Empathy Cafe? How do you create the breakout rooms? How do you have a facilitator in each room? So that's will be part of that training too.
Awesome. Did Peter leave?
He did.
Okay. He was just here for the
He's
intro.
a busy man.
Wow. I was excited to maybe see him in a room.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience with him in a room.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we are ready to go.
Okay, cool.
See you in a bit.
There.
Okay, there we are. Great. So somehow the transition from the breakout room with my Zoom has been getting worse and worse. So,
Yeah, I saw you're freezing there. I wasn't sure.
It was weird. It's been happening. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully there'll be another update to address that. So maybe we can just start with a quick intro, your name, just where you're located, and then we'll start with the process. As I mentioned, Edwin Rutch. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. Brandon, do you want to go next?
Sure, thanks, Edwin. Yeah, my name's Brandon, and I'm in New York City.
Cool.
Daryl?
Aaron? Oh, Daryl.
Okay.
I guess we're doing the old, Daryl.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the old, yeah.
Sure. I'm Daryl Dwayne. I'm in Washington, D.C. Aaron, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm Erin Kerwin. I'm in Ohio, USA.
That leaves me. I'm Cody from Denver.
Okay, so our topic is, what's your experience here? Like, do you feeling anxious here? Do you feel happy? Do you feel sad? What do you think about this process? Does it feel confusing? Like, how are you now about being in taking part in the empathy circle? And if someone wants to start, I'll keep time. And let me bring up my clock here, stopwatch. Sorry, I didn't have that set up. And if once 5 minutes is up, I'll just hold this sign up. And at that point, you want to sort of wrap up what you're saying, get the final reflection, and then it becomes the listener's turn to become the speaker. So just to model it, I'll be the first listener if someone wants to start.
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
And you're going to start it whenever I speak, yeah?
Yep, I'm
cool.
listening.
All right, perfect. How it's like to be here. I was pretty nervous. I haven't been engaging in the Stoa much in the past month. A lot of life things happened, and so I was pretty nervous coming in here.
Yes, I'm hearing you haven't been to the Stoa for a while and you're feeling nervous being here now.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, Peter, I was actually traveling during, I had a family member pass, so I had to go travel to a funeral. And when I was out of town, Peter reached out to me one night and said, "Hey, are you going to the Empathy Circle tomorrow? Could use some production help." And it was really nice to hear.
So you're doing some traveling and Peter reached out to you and asked if you'd kind of help with the production here. And sounds like you kind of actually appreciate or something about being invited by him. Kind of you like that.
Yeah, it was a good kind of reach out from the, felt like a reach out from the ether and something that I'd been, kind of forgotten about or just been preoccupied. And so, I mean, even today I was having breakfast with a friend and on my way over here, I was like, well, I could not go, I could totally just not do it. And so even there, I could feel that of like almost not coming because of this anxiousness. I haven't been there in a while. I don't know what it was.
So you're sensing sort of an anxiety about coming to the Stoa, and it sounds like you're even thinking, oh, maybe I just won't show up, or just not sort of face that, or that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and then I walk in and immediately Peter's, hey, you want to, we be the co-host, and I was like, yeah, perfect, because I almost reached out to him last night to be like, hey, do you need any help tomorrow? And so I immediately felt welcomed. I immediately felt like, oh yes, this is where I need to be right now. It felt so good to be back here after dealing with so much. It felt good to belong.
Yeah, so it's a feeling of belonging. Peter just reached out, said, would you help out with this? It sounds like you've been going through a lot before, and it just felt good to have that feeling of belonging here.
Yeah, it really does. And even a layer of that is I got let go from my job on Friday. And so there's one aspect of really not feeling like I belong because someone's saying you don't belong here. And then coming here and really feeling like I belonged. And there's something serendipitous about all of that, actually.
Yeah, so another layer of not feeling that you belong was you got let go of your job and it felt like, oh, I don't belong here, but now you have that feeling of belonging here. Maybe some appreciation, feeling some appreciation for that.
Yeah, there's some feeling of like it's kind of okay. Even a part of me, I was kind of disenfranchised with my job a lot, and I think a lot of that was actually engaging so deeply with the Stoa and having connections so deeply here, and realizing that in some of my other areas I don't have those deep connections, and questioning their quality and questioning their validity.
So I'm hearing that in the Stoa you had really deep connections, which makes you sort of question other places where you're at, where you don't have that, like in your work.
Yeah, and is it possible to have those connections in my workplace and in all the other areas of my life? And should I be really spending time and wasting time on areas that really doesn't seem to be serving me?
Yeah, so you're just thinking about, can you have that sense of belonging in other places or meaning in other places and should you even bother going to the places where you don't have that?
Yeah, and a layer of that is with witnessing a death of a family member, which was the closest death I've ever had in my life. Is I questioned life immediately. What am I doing? How am I spending my time? This man was so young. That could happen to anyone who died of COVID. What am I doing with my every day? And if it's spent with these relationships that aren't deep, is that a good use of my time?
So seeing someone who is young who died from COVID, it made you just question what you're doing with your life and sort of yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm kind of in awe of the way reality works sometimes. and where I was questioning these things but wasn't quite ready to make a move, then life just kind of happens and force my move.
So you're just noticing that you're sort of weren't ready to make a move, but then now life is forcing you to make a move, and just sort of it sounds like you're just sort of observing that and kind of contemplating it, and that was time to. So.
Yeah, thank you. I feel heard.
Okay, great. Then speak to Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing with the empathy circle I find is that doing the facilitation, it takes a certain part of my consciousness, to kind of think of all the organizational part of it. And so I don't feel like I can totally let myself go in the space somehow. So I'm just sort of thinking about that. So I kind of like it when somebody else is facilitating and doing everything. So I don't have that sense of responsibility.
Is there a way we can share? Is there a way I could like do
When it comes your turn, you'll be able to share. So I'm speaking to Erin. She's going to reflect back I'll speak for 5 minutes, and then when someone will speak to you, and then you'll reflect back, then it'll be your turn.
Okay, so Edwin, I was hearing that you were noticing that facilitating in an empathy circle is a little bit of a different experience, and that you can't, because you're kind of organizing it, you're maybe not as able to be free and kind of as present or something that you might be otherwise.
Exactly. Like my mind is thinking of the vision of the whole, the whole cafe, thinking of the logistics, like Peter left, he was doing this. Now Cody is, organizing, in charge, like how's the recording going? How is this? So I can't like I love where I just don't even have to think about that, can just get into, what I'm sensing and feeling. Yeah.
So it sounds like you really love the experience of the empathy circle, where you can really immerse yourself in what you're feeling and be expressive of that, without having to think about what's happening, to facilitate it with the recording.
Exactly.
Things like that.
I think it's because responsibility, I always take responsibility very seriously, and it's like I have German background. It's like, you got to be on time. It's like, I don't come before, don't come after. It's like right on time. So I get kind of, rigid about that kind of responsibility kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So you were saying that you take responsibility very seriously, and maybe you feel like your heritage was strong and sticking to the rules and being on time and making sure that you follow through, just so it feels extra.
Yeah, exactly. And I somehow also sense, I was really glad that you were here, because I know you signed up for the training. So you're getting your circle in before taking part. So I was just, felt, oh, good, Erin's here. She's getting her, her pre-circles in. So for the training. So looking forward to you being in the training.
So you notice that I joined, and I'm going to get all of my empathy circles in so that I can do the training, and you're excited to see that.
And I'm also excited about the training that we're doing, the Stoa training, and I hope we can get a full cohort. I'm sure we can, just so that it starts becoming self-perpetuating. So right now I've been, here at all the circles, but I'd like to kind of get it going so it's self-sustaining, so I don't have to be here and can kind of focus on other things. That's sort of the vision of the culture of empathy, the empathy training, is get other people familiar with it, get you familiar with the training, have the trainer so you can go train others. So just to really spread the practice. And I think it'll work really well through the Stoa.
So you're excited in seeing through the bigger vision of training others to be able to facilitate and expand the practice, and hoping that like the next Stoa training will fill up so that you can realize, that dream.
And overall feeling, I feel like sort of a spaciousness, in the group, and it's very nice. Yeah, feels good.
So you're feeling a space that's expansive, that you can share into, and we can all take part in.
And I was grateful for Cody, sharing what he shared, seemed very personal, and kind of grateful for that.
So it sounds like it was really special for you to hear, Cody sharing his personal feelings, and his contribution meant a lot to you.
Yep, feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay, Daryl, do you want to listen?
I'll listen and mirror for you. Yes.
Okay, great. So I am excited to be here. I was so grateful that there was enough planned empathy circles I could join in time to do the empathy circle training. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I hear that you're glad as well to be here, and I'm glad that you're kind of getting a edge jumpstart on the training you're going to embark in.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I think I can't remember too many times in my life where I know I'm going to talk in front of several people that I don't get nervous. So, there's some feeling of, and it's kind of cool because it mixes with the excitement. And it feels natural and it's not really holding me back or anything, but I definitely notice that, and probably become maybe a little more self-conscious than I am, day to day, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you thinking back through the times in your life where you felt safer or easier to flow in speaking, and also remembering most of the time that you're not able to do that. And I hear probably you're wanting to know more about that for yourself to
Yeah.
change it.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just that it's especially in groups.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, that groups are in somehow intimidating for you.
Yeah. But I'm feeling, now I'm feeling very happy to be part of this group, and I'm also feeling that it's going to be really nice to have this experience today too. I'm a little bit worried my daughter's going to try to bust in any minute, so that's a little bit of a distraction. But other than that, I feel like very present, for you all, and I'm grateful. I feel like I'm learning a lot. I've been to one of these formal empathy circles before. This is only my second, but I feel like I'm getting a lot from it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you're feeling really nourished by the community that's here in empathy circles. I hear that there's a way that this is something you've been looking for a long time, perhaps, and it feels like a special place where something important can happen that you've been missing out on in life, and this will fill some void, some need that you've been aware of and gradually becoming more and more aware of. And I hear your concern for staying present and really doing it right, and making sure that you're not interrupted, or if it's interrupted, it's not a big deal, and just really feeling the care and the value that you feel in this process.
Yes, thank you. I feel heard.
So you feel fully heard?
Yes,
Erin?
I'm sorry. Maybe you can hear me. I do.
Yeah. So Daryl, it's up. You're next. You choose your listener.
Great. Brandon, would you be willing to?
Yes, of course, Daryl. Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, I'm excited to jump in here to this. It was kind of on a whim, and yeah, I've done a fair amount of work in this realm. I do a lot of the circling stuff, and it's been a while, so it's good to kind of get brushed up on something, and also really sweet to find a new modality, a new angle on intersubjective meditation, sort of stuff that's so great here. It's great psychotechnologies at the Stoa.
Hearing that you're excited to be here and that you decided on a whim to do this, and it's been a while, and that you have a lot of circling practice, other modalities, and that you're excited to try out a new modality.
Yeah. So what's been weighing on me? Lots of things, of course, but I really want something more for society together, and reading a lot about how Facebook is a problem, and how much it actually causes more hurt than benefit. But at the same time, I realize the immense benefits it's created for me, and I think a lot of others, and so many of these other technologies as well. So I think so. Yeah, what's weighing on me is just I'm still trying to grok what it is about the human condition that um, flourishes in the new social media, and what parts of the human condition or the culture wars that are not positive, and how can we ameliorate those problems.
So what I'm hearing, Daryl, is that um, you're looking for new ways for humans to connect in ways that are generative, and you're seeing the challenges, the harm that ways of connecting that are already in place through social media have, and you also recognize the ways that they can be beneficial. And it sounds like it's really important to you to find the ways that are most connective and least harmful, and even looking at the tools that we already have in place, how they could be used to serve that purpose.
Thanks for hearing me that. Yes, and to sort of kind of take the next step in that path, I'm wanting to know how to educate people about these problems as well. I certainly don't see them all yet, and I've been a little bit of a denier, and been early on was kind of like, why wouldn't you be on Facebook to people? What's the problem with Facebook for you? And now I'm finally starting to get a grip on it. Finally starting to have some empathy, and as far to like, wow, maybe I really could stop for a while, or maybe I really can do a better job of seeing the manipulative or the extractive parts of the social economy that social media extracts from us, in exchange for some paltry promise of giving you more connection or giving you more whatever else, which is huge. I say paltry, but it really is pretty huge. But it's even huger the fact that some of the things that they do can create more violence, can shift elections in ways we wouldn't expect, can create a lot of polarization, and this stuff is so nebulous that most of us can't see it, and so I want us to be able to see that. I want more transparency in what's going down.
So what I'm hearing, Daryl, is that education around all of this, around people's use and experience on social media, is really important to you. And a lot of it is still hidden, that you're still understanding your relationship with it, how to have a healthy relationship with it, and what parts of your relationship with it are harmful, and wanting to take that experience and sharing it with others. And it seems like you really want to see the inner workings of what's going on in social media, and to understand how, like, where the hidden agendas are, where the ulterior motives are behind the companies that put out social media, and also the complexity of the ways that networking through social media can bring about harm, and bring about things that are in service.
Thanks, Brandon. Feeling seen, and I'm getting some new words for what I'm up to that are great help. And thank you for seeing me more in this, and thank you for finding other words that help me understand my quest better and myself better in this. Do you get that about yourself?
Do I get what about myself?
Yeah. I'm turning the tape. I'm probably not supposed to ask a question in this, right? I'm probably supposed to.
You can just reflect everything you just heard Daryl say.
Yeah, that's right.
You asked me. Oh yeah. So you asked me. You. you're feeling grateful for the way that I reflected your words back to you, and you feel that you've gotten some new words, some new ways of phrasing and saying the things that have been going on with you and your thoughts and your feelings. And you're wondering whether I feel that's true about me, or something is true about me. I guess I'm guessing that you mean something around the way that I paraphrased you effectively or something.
That was the time too, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandon.
Okay, so Cody. Yeah. So right now I'm feeling a little bit flustered about that last bit of listening to Daryl. I kind of, when he started to go into, I guess what I would say is his checkout, I stopped deep listening. I was like, oh, he's done. I don't have to like listen deeply anymore. So I'm feeling a little bit embarrassed about that.
I'm hearing you're feeling a little flustered and embarrassed as you witnessed yourself check out a little bit, as it seemed like the end.
Yeah, and like I'm learning the lesson in there is that like to never stop deep listening. Like, you know, it's not like I was off the hook or anything. There's no reason to stop my deep listening. So I'm appreciating the way that Daryl ended his sharing so that I could learn that lesson.
So you're realizing that there's actually no time to stop and turn off. That maybe it should always stay on, and you're appreciative of the way it ended, so that you could see that realization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now I'm noticing like how much that moment took the tension off of my time to share, which I've been feeling a little bit of anxiety about before, but just that moment of like being vulnerable and just leaning into my vulnerability there, just like totally snapped that tension cable.
You're noticing how that moment actually relieved the tension, that you were experiencing anxiety prior to that, but then the moment happened, and then that snapped the tension cable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also starting to, it's interesting, I'm starting to feel, this is my first time doing this, and I've also, like Daryl, have been involved in lots of other circling and collective intelligent practices, and so I'm starting to feel the rhythm of this, whereas at first I felt some resistance because, well, I guess I practice this with people in my life. And even in my life, when I practice this kind of thing, it just like, it feels like it's just gotta be, it's just too easy. It's just like, I'm resistant to it because it can't be this easy.
Since your first time doing this, and you've participated in practices like this, circling and things like this, and you do this in your daily life, you're starting to get the rhythm of this, and there's a sense of you feeling that when you do it, you're getting a sense of that it's easy, and you're questioning that, can it be this easy?
Yeah, something felt a little bit missed there. Let me see if I can find it, just at the end there. Yeah, something about the easiness, like it feels, I don't know, whenever I'm in when I decide to use this method, when I'm in conflict with someone, I feel resistance then too, because it's just like, I just feel like, okay, I'll use that. I don't know what it is, but it's like, okay, I'll use this. And it always works. It always relieves tension. And yet why, I'm just like, why is there that resistance? Why is there that resistance?
So you're noticing resistance every time that you want to use this modality, knowing that it will work, and questioning why there's still a resistance to wanting to use it.
Yeah, it feels like part of it is like not trusting myself that I'll be able to mirror the other person back. Like it's just easier to not have to do that. That I'll miss something. There's anxiety around the missing something, just so deeply wanting the other person to be heard, and just a fear of failure, and just like this part of me that doesn't want to copy, that just wants to be my own, just wants to be who I like, express myself. And so just like hearing Daryl say that, I guess reflect back to, or express that I had paraphrased him in some way, was both kind of like, I was disappointed to hear that, and also I felt like validated in my satisfaction that I get in speaking my own voice.
So there's some anxiety about whether or not you're going to do it right, or you're going to be able to mirror the other person correctly. And there's something about a lack of authenticity or your voice whenever you're just mirroring. And that you felt that some validation and actually feeling that whenever you witnessed you add your own voice to Daryl's reflection.
Yeah. So both the feeling the validation of authenticity, and also that I had mirrored him effectively. Yeah.
So feeling the validation of authenticity and that you have mirrored him effectively.
Thank you, Cody. I feel heard. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Aaron, will you listen?
Yeah, of course.
What's coming up for me is hearing the possibility of using this in my daily life. And I'm feeling resistance to that, of like, man, this could work, but will people do this with me?
So you're thinking about the possibility that you could bring this into your daily life, outside of these kind of formal circles, and just wonder if people would join you in that, easily, if it would be something that people would be responsive to in your daily life.
Yes, and this resistance, it's a novel idea of, because this is the formality, this is a box. I do this in a box over on Zoom. And there's a desire in me to like, let's let this trickle into my daily life. Just like the idea of like, oh my God, I have all these great connections in the Stoa. Can I have them in my career? Can I have them in my, so there's a desire for it, but there is still a resistance and a fear.
So it sounds like there's real desire to have some of these things that mean so much to you or resonate with you permeate all of your life. So you have both this experience that you have inside the circle, it's the structure that you see value in, but you have the desire to bring that into your daily life, just like the experience of the Stoa that means so much to you that you think in my daily life, in my career, like I would like that to match these experiences.
Yeah, and it's really scary. I feel like I'm on a precipice of living my life how I want to live my life with, and developing the relationships that I want. And that's pretty terrifying. And I've been scared of that for a while. And I think in the past few months, I've been kind of, my hand has been forced, and there's no other option anymore but to live that life. And that's like, just pretty, yeah, kind of scary, and some other emotions. I don't know what they are.
So it sounds like you're definitely feeling fear building, but kind of to this precipice, you said. And you used the word resistance, I think, before to some of these things unfolding, to some of the desires that you have. You've kind of been feeling it maybe building over the past few months, but it's almost like I don't know if you mentioned the word serendipity before, or something where, things just in your life have come to this place where, you said forcing your hand or no going back or something. There's change happening.
Yeah, the image that just came to my mind of it was, as I'm trying to remember and just be a little gentle with myself, of like, oh, that I haven't done this prior. And the image that comes to my mind is that, especially with precipice, this idea of like a fruit being on the end of a tree and picking it at the exact moment, or maybe your hand is there right when it wants to fall as the wind blows. So there's that moment where it's just boop, perfect to pop off, and something I'm trying to trust in that's what's actually happening, that this is just that moment.
So it sounds like you have this image that really defines what you're feeling, of just having a perfectly ripe fruit just fall right into your hand. It's just this moment of both kind of opening and grasping, just at the right time.
Yeah, there's a letting go of it almost too. It's like, all right, I want to grab for the apple, but what if I stop my hand right before and see if it just wants to fall in? And there's like that moment where I'm actually not grasping. It's just that perfect moment. And there's a letting go and a surrender into that there's some trust and some grace and gratitude and a whole other slew that I am trying to. When I get into that, I'm feeling chills all over my body. Something there is real, and a nugget that I need to remember and hold on to going through the transition.
So it sounds like it's more of a letting go and a surrender into the experience, and I think the image sounds like, and that felt sense of surrender is something you can. It sounds like you feel in your body with chills or, whatnot, and that felt sense is so strong. It's so potent that you feel that if you can hang on to that, that will help you, navigate and get through all of the changes that are coming on.
Yes, thank you. I feel heard.
Brandon.
Okay.
So, gosh, I don't even know what to say right now. I will reflect on just the experience of talking with Cody, and see that, like, well, it's kind of neat because I get to experience in these circles something that's just pretty profoundly, like, caring, and also learning so much at the same time.
So you decided to reflect on conversation with Cody, and feels like you're appreciating the combination of care and learning that happens at the same time in this space.
Exactly. Yeah. I also there's some other things that I'm just noticing too in this experience, you know, today. Like, I loved how you had that moment that was, like you said, a learning moment for you that was born out of, you know, just a natural kind of like experience in it, and that you were able to like reflect on it and gather, and then we all could, you know.
So you're also appreciating having witnessed me and my experience and my little learning moment that happened in real time, and listening to my reflection on it ended up both serving me and the rest of the group as well.
Yeah. I'm also noticing a couple times where there's just been silence, which was a different type of silence than if I'm with somebody one-on-one, you know. So that was kind of special to witness, when there was, you know, this pause for intentional like remembering or reflecting or something. And I noticed in that it wasn't just the same as like me with one other person. Like there was a different dynamic for that for me.
So I'm hearing that you also noticed a certain quality about the pauses that we've had in the space today that somehow feel different to you than pauses that exist in dialogues with individuals, like one-on-one outside of this space.
Yeah, exactly. And also I'm noticing that it is really a challenge for me inside a structure. Now, one-on-one with one person, I feel like I can share back and forth, you know. But I think when it becomes more structured, I kind of move into a more kind of like, I don't know, just fall back on more professional like practices and things, where I'm used to listening deeply, maybe using questions, but never ever like, not never ever, but my part is not as free, you know, to, I guess I'm spending more focus on the other person. I'm not like turning focus on myself unless it's therapeutically helpful. You know what I mean? So for me to like go into like reflecting to someone and then turning on to myself and actually doing it back, it's just like, I'm sure that I'll fall into that, you know, soon, and get the knack of it, but it is an awkward transition for me. Hope that's not too much.
So what I'm hearing here, Erin, is that you find doing this kind of practice in one-on-one comes kind of naturally to you, and then when you're in a group setting like this, it's a little bit more challenging because you tend to fall into more some sort of professional protocol that you see, and you end up just taking on more of a listening role, and more naturally like feel predisposed to ask questions, and when it's your turn to actually speak, it feels a little bit unnatural to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel heard fully. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, Edwin.
Listening.
Hmm. Well, first of all, I'm sort of I'm sitting in a little bit of like afterglow of hearing Erin saying that she felt that, my little moment earlier was helpful to everyone. That feels good. And I'm also noticing myself not wanting to avoid not feeling too much pride about it, but like coming across as prideful around it.
So you're just sensing into yourself that there's sort of a glow feeling that you were acknowledged for what you did, was sort of a learning for others, and then sort of noticing, hey, there's a little bit of pridefulness about having done that, but then not feeling comfortable with the pridefulness. So kind of a little bit of a dilemma there.
Yeah. It was also nice to hear from Erin about well, she didn't quite say what the quality of the pauses were, but I had an assumption that the quality of the pauses in the group were somehow, I don't know, more pleasant in some way, or like pregnanter somehow. And because I was noticing a resistance in myself earlier to just speak, like that I have to fill every second of my time allotted to me to speak. Partly because, like, if I don't, then it's going to make it too easy for the reflector or something. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, so you were kind of feeling some pressure to speak, and one of the motivations for that pressure was you didn't want to make it too easy for the listener, because they wouldn't have to reflect. And so the whole listening, the spaciousness, the silence was something you're sort of exploring. And it sounds like you feel a little self-conscious maybe about sharing that too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm moving into a different version of myself that speaks more slowly and more intentionally, and is more selective with my words and effective with them. Whereas in the past, I've been known to, speak very quickly and with lots of words, and I'm learning there's just so much more in economy of words, and not just filling space with as many of them as possible.
So you're noticing a shift of your speaking, from speaking with a lot of words to being more economical with your words, and sort of maybe just economical. And I don't know if that was quite it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different way of speaking, kind of slower, more economical, more sensitive.
And leaving more space so that I can actually hear my body. And I feel like in a context like this, where we're reflecting each other in what we're feeling, that it's more easy to feel empathy for the other when the words are coming from down here instead of up here.
Mm-hmm. So you feel here with this process that is where we're doing this process, you're able to come into a deeper sense of what's happening in your body, as well as that contributes to a more empathic maybe connection.
Yeah. And simply knowing that someone is going to be reflecting me is helping me to be able to be in that place because I feel like I know that if the words were all just tumbling out of my head, they might be harder to catch.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that the knowing that you're going to be reflected actually allows you to go deeper into yourself, into that space, into your body, creates more of a space for that and a support maybe for that.
Yeah, and even just speaking about this right now, I just noticed my nervous system relax significantly. And I feel a lot safer with all of you. And I'm also recognizing the value in this practice and appreciating you, Edwin, for your enthusiasm and wanting to perpetuate it. And I'm feeling inspired to be part of that community and kind of, even though this is my only first time, kind of hoping I'll be able to somehow be allowed into the January 17th facilitator training.
Okay, so you're getting a sense of feeling into yourself, and it's creating a sense of spaciousness, of more calmness, more ease, and sort of you have an appreciation. I'm hearing an appreciation for that, and hoping that you can take part in the training on the 17th. And that was the time too. So
Cool.
feel heard? Okay.
I do, yeah. Thank you,
So
Edwin.
I'll speak to Daryl.
That'd be great. Edwin, what's up?
Yeah. Something I'm sitting with is sort of that spaciousness. I think that Brandon is talking about. There's a sort of a sense of spaciousness, and then I just want to see what sort of emerges into the spaciousness. You know, just like what idea, what feeling will sort of emerge without effort into the spaciousness.
Without effort.
Yeah, what will emerge? What will emerge into the spaciousness is.
Yeah. I'm appreciating your curiosity. I'm appreciating your clear palette. I'm appreciating the way that I'm hearing that you're wanting to stay as open as you can. You're wanting to stay as aware as you can. You're wanting to stay out of the way. You're wanting to be clear and not interrupt or not let anything happen that could be blocked by some accident or some mistake.
Yeah, and kind of something that comes up to me. I think Aaron had mentioned once about speaking in groups that I've kind of feel anxious too, like speaking in a group, because I want to be open and authentic, and I want what wants to emerge, you know, because that has a feeling of authenticity to it. But then I'm afraid that I'm just going to sit there waiting, and then there's all these eyes on me, and it's like, oh my God, I got to do something. It's like all these eyes are waiting for something, and then I get nervous, and then the nervousness closes me off, and then for sure nothing arises because of the anxiety kind of like suppresses that. So
I'm hearing you name that you're aware that this idea of spaciousness may be a fault, maybe is more complex than any of us can be with. Or I'm hearing that there's a way in which our own anxieties don't serve us. There is an inherent bias, no matter how hard we try to be open and spacious. There's kind of this dueling side. That's what I'm hearing.
mm-hmm.
And
It's not quite. That's not quite it. It's more wanting to be open and have an integrity, and then becoming afraid, having fear sort of come up. You know, kind of that shuts me down. So I think it's that fear. Yeah.
Yeah, that fear. That I use the word bias for it, but it doesn't have to be bias. There's I hear you naming an inherent anxiety that you're sensing in the group,
No, I don't feel it in, I don't feel it in this group. It's just sort of a generalization of how I am, you know, a lot in groups. Like I remember in junior high school, you had to go out and present in front of the class. And it's like, I couldn't do it. It's just too anxiety producing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to hear that you don't feel it in this group. But I also hear that you name that the group in junior high school was really hard for you. And maybe there's been some other groups where it's been hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it, exactly. And the thing I'm trying to learn is it's that if the anxiety comes up, just to name it. And that's part of the authenticity. Hey, I'm really terrified here in this group. I'm like totally terrified. I don't know what to say. I just feel like I'm totally lost and I'm going into this dark wormhole of a void of confusion and anxiety, you know, to be able to just name it. And I think that's what empathy is about, is just naming whatever's coming up, and whatever comes up is just fine.
I hear you naming the power of what I would echo as going meta. If you can say, if you can actually go to the next layer deeper, of the context that you're in, and you can name the context, then I hear you able to navigate power dynamics that are coming up for you and have subverted you in the past. And I hear you claiming your power in going meta in naming your vulnerability.
Yeah, I haven't used the word meta, but that does sort of resonate. And I see it as empathic. So empathic is sensing into what's arising in me, sort of self-empathy, and just sharing that as it happens. But there is sort of a meta stepping back from to see what's arising. Whatever is arising is just to be named. So yeah, that's
I hear the power of setting the context that you're in a space that you value vulnerability in the group, in the group, and while you're there as that leader in that at the moment, anyways, you're communicating through gesture of, hey, this is how we roll in empathy circles or in the junior high school group that you're in, and that's the power. I see you naming the power of empathy, and naming the power of vulnerability.
Yeah, I feel heard to my satisfaction. Yep, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
It's your turn to select who you want.
Edwin, would you be up for
You want to go back to me? Okay, listening.
Thanks. So yeah, this is great. I'm still reeling from what I'll call a trick that I played on Brandon at the end, and it was inadvertent, but it was fun, and I hope positive in the end, even if it was a little uncomfortable. And I'm realizing that maybe there's some gifts I have that I could do better at using in playful but mischievous ways to bring about transformation and healing, and I want to do more of that. In particularly in circles like this, where there is a little bit more room to play, in a loving but perhaps confusing way.
Yeah, so you're sort of celebrating how you were able to bring up do a little trick there for Brandon, but it was really you felt that was sort of a contribution, and that you have sort of a playful way, and it can add to sort of contribute to groups and the dynamics in a group.
That's right. Yeah. And then I also noticed that I've taken a lot of liberties in interpreting people's words today, more than probably are appropriate. And hopeful that Aaron and Brandon were okay with it, and you actually were not too unsettled by it. And I really appreciated your error correcting me in it, and I hope that other people know to do that for themselves, to take care of themselves in that, because that is a gift to the listener to hear more about what it's like to hear the feedback that, or the empathy that I'm giving, even, yeah.
Yeah, so you were just naming that you were taking sort of liberties that sort of adding a bit in the reflection, the type of reflection you're doing with Brandon and Aaron, and just hoping that, they were okay with it, and that there's just something you feel that it's sort of a contribution. You were just sort of noticing that you sort of do this sort of addition there. And also the other part was that it's up to the speaker to sort of correct you to make sure that they feel heard to their satisfaction. And you were just appreciating that I sort of did that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I am appreciating that you did that. And yeah. And then the other thing I'm noticing is that I was really careful to see the places where the person was thinking. At one point, Erin, I noticed her thinking, and I don't even know that she knew she was thinking, reflecting about all the different times she's felt anxiety in a group. And she was good. She named that, she clarified that it was group situations that gave her anxiety. But I really wanted to make sure she knew that I saw her doing the hard work of doing the inventory that maybe is something that is more part of something that just happens as a part of the gestures, or that there's other, and then I think there's one other case where I saw somebody say something at the, Erin also took care of herself with another conversation we had today, or she took care of the other presenter, or she took care of the listener, and I was hoping the listener, I think it was Brandon, would have noticed her taking care of him and said, hey, I noticed that you care about me in the load that I've just given you, and had a reaction from that too.
So I'm not quite sure. This is getting complicated. So one thing is you want people to take care of themselves, and then also to see how people are. There's sort of a level of, when you were listening to Erin, that you were kind of wanting to contribute to sort of her awareness in some way, that you were saying things in a sense to contribute to her awareness of the dynamics of what she was sort of expressing. And you've been doing that you see that with others too.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for hearing me in that there's a way that, yeah, there's the content that's coming across by the presenter, but then there's also there's also the body language and the nonverbal communication that comes across that I want to make sure I reflect back with empathy to them.
So you're wanting to do more than just reflect back the words, but sort of at a deeper level, what the body language is saying, and maybe the deeper meaning that you're seeing there. And that was 5 minutes too.
All right.
So, okay. Brandon, can I speak to you then?
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of intrigued by Daryl and his sort of how his thinking, how his logic works. So yeah, kind of curious about that. I was trying to, kind of get a grasp of it.
So hearing you feeling a little bit intrigued about Daryl's logic, how his mind works, and trying to wrap your head around it.
And I was glad that he felt heard and understood. I mean, I was glad that he felt heard and understood. So.
You feeling glad that he felt heard and understood.
Yeah, and I know I've had 2 turns now, so and I'm sort of aware of the time, so I don't want to I want to kind of keep moving, so I feel fully heard.
Okay, you're conscious of time and wanting to keep things moving, and you're done.
Yep.
Okay. Aaron.
Listening.
Now I'm noticing myself being conscious of time and wondering whether I should cut my mind shorter or something for some reason.
So hearing advocacy time made you conscious of time and wonder, how much you will share right now.
Yeah, and now noticing that my story is that maybe Edwin conceded time as he is the lead facilitator in this group today and wanting to give space to the rest of us.
So you're reflecting that Edwin perhaps, you know, and as he mentioned before, is facilitating and may want to give more, you know, practice and time to the rest of us.
And if that story checks out, then I'm appreciating Edwin for making that concession. Yeah.
And if that is the case, in fact, then you appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm feeling I mentioned earlier that when I'm in conflict with people, I'll sometimes do this, but it's not in a, you know, an empathy circle, formal empathy circle practice sort of way. It's simply just that I'm reflecting back that person when everything else seems to be blocked. And I'm kind of feeling inspired now to bring this more formal empathy circle practice in a group with members of my family. Yeah, I feel excited about that possibility, and also kind of feeling some like I don't know, it's kind of a cramp, I guess, because I have a feeling that there would be resistance, especially with those who I most would like to see in an empathy circle together.
So you might have this kind of practice when you're speaking with someone where you reflect back to them in this manner, but you're interested now into doing maybe a full circle with family members. And when you think about that, it sounds like you're excited, but you also imagine some resistance on the behalf of certain members, at least the ones that you would most want to do this with. You wonder if they would participate.
Yeah, that's right. Now I'm finding myself really curious to hear from Edwin and others who have had a lot of experience in possibly much higher stakes contexts than these, facilitating these circles. How is resistance to participating, or resistance to the model, handled, navigated?
So it sounds like excited about or wondering about the potential of this practice in higher stakes, maybe higher conflict situations, and then wonder, well, if you know this practice has been used, maybe they would have, you know, people who have facilitated those would have insight about what happens when there's a lot of resistance to participating. And I might not have gathered that part quite about the resistance.
Yeah, it feels okay to me. Yeah, I'm imagining the circle that Edwin said that he's going to facilitate soon among two Democrats and two Republicans, and it sounds like they've obviously agreed to participate. I don't know to what extent that they've practiced this before. I just wonder when there's opposition, or just if people like say, yeah, I agree to do this, and then people feeling that, oh, this is stupid, just reflecting each other.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're about the group that Edwin would facilitate with 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and what could happen in there and how it'd be handled, and maybe one of those things being like, wait, this is just me repeating, and maybe not grasping or not feeling or not resonating or something in that.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I feel heard.
Okay. Cody.
Listening.
So I think I have, I'm also curious along the same lines as Brandon. I've imagined different scenarios and get curious about when people might not, I don't know, different like might not somehow feel heard and not advocate for themselves, like Daryl said, like not have that skill to say, oh no wait, that's not, or not be aware that or yeah. So I guess that is a really good thing, and I'm glad that Brandon voiced that, because I'm sure I have thought of some of those things, and so it's nice to hear somebody else thinking of those, I guess.
I'm hearing you're appreciating Brandon speak towards the possibility of a speaker not being heard, not being able to voice their own unheardness, or their own experience of not being heard, and how that might come up. And maybe I'm stretching, but there's a no, that's it.
That's exactly it. And I guess I probably have reflected a little bit too. It's funny that Daryl used the word meta, because that came to my mind early on in this conversation, and I think this one facilitates us, especially because we're talking about our experience in the circle. But that was kind of cool that he said that. That I think that was coming from him, but that was interesting.
I'm finding it cool that we're kind of speaking of the meta experience as we are literally speaking about our experience, and we are being very meta. And you're finding that kind of cool, and you're kind of appreciating hearing Daryl speak to that as you've had those thoughts as well.
Yeah. I guess one other thing that I will share too that's kind of interesting is a very, I think probably a real high level example of the potential of these empathy circles. And I feel vulnerable in saying it, but I did notice that I was the only female in the group. And didn't feel especially intimidated or worried about that, but I did notice it. So I feel a little bit like ashamed that I noticed it, especially now that I don't feel like the one of anything. I feel like part of, a whole sort of in this experience. So I just want to reflect that too.
You're noticing that did have the the thought and the awareness that you were the only female in the group, and that there's a little bit of a shame of just noticing it all, especially now not feeling like you are a one of anything, as I assume feeling like a group.
Yeah, and so I think that speaks to the power of it.
Mm.
Although it wasn't a high level difference, it was only a small one. It's a very concrete example of it.
And so you see that speaks to the power of the empathy training as well, even though it wasn't crazy high level, but it was it's a concrete example of how it can affect.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat. And can't really think of anything else. Just once again, glad to spend my time this way, and the exercise, listening, but just get to hear. I mean, I feel it's like a privilege just to get to hear, you know, what people are thinking, and then to be heard too. So
You don't have much, but you're really glad that you spent your time this way, and just really appreciative of both listening and that it's a privilege to get to hear others share.
thank you. I feel fully heard.
Cool, thank you. Brandon?
Okay.
There's I'm hearing that the power of this thing, and I felt that the many times that I've done this, and I think it's feeling, as I've done multiple times coming to the Stoa, silly that before I came in, I thought that I shouldn't do it, and then get here, and I'm like, why? Like, what? This is the greatest thing ever. Like,
So what I'm hearing is that you're feeling the power in this practice, and especially after having done it several times now, you particularly feel it, and you're feeling a little bit silly for having felt before coming here that you didn't want to come here. I missed something at the end there.
just how great it is.
How great it is that you're actually here.
Yeah. And now I'm thinking that resistance might be some of that residual resistance to doing the things that I love, really living a life that I want to be living. I mean, there's just some residual, the resistance has no, it's just fear-based. It doesn't really actually have anything there. Once I lean into it and do the thing, I'm actually just filled with joy and able to have such novel experiences internally, watch other people have their own experiences, just quite amazing.
So you're noticing this residual resistance in you, and you feel that it's coming from a place that keeps you from doing the things, that's stopping you from doing the things that you really want to do in your life, and you believe that it's coming from a place purely of fear, and that when you actually lean into that fear, then you notice, I don't know, how flowy, that you're in that it's flowy, there's flow.
Yeah, that's a good word. I felt that exact same thing yesterday, and I'm reminded of two things. One, of like, it feels like that a concept of foreboding joy, that I've just been pushing joy away because I'm like, that's too much. I can't experience that. That's too good. I don't deserve that or something.
Yeah, so you're noticing a part of you that pushes joy away, that you don't deserve it for some reason.
I think so. And then when I lean into the things that are so joyful and blissful to me, and I experienced this last night as I just wanted to play guitar, and I did, and I was like, oh, right, this is how I get into the flow state. The flow state is like a place to be. Like, I can just hop into there. And I started to think in my life, I'm like, what other ways do I get into a flow state? And I'm like, oh, like conversation, like in relationship with people, I can just, and then felt silly again. Like, why? Like, these are, felt both silly, but it also like nailed, kind of carved into stone of like, find the things that you get into flow state in, lean into those things. There's something magic there.
So what I'm hearing is that in your experience of experiencing flow states, you're recognizing how much potential to be your whole self there is in those moments, and that you experienced it last night, picking up your guitar and playing and feeling that flow state and feeling a little silly. I didn't quite catch the reason why you felt silly. What I heard is that you felt silly because of maybe how obvious that is, and that you often keep those experiences, you keep yourself from having those experiences. So that's where the silliness is. And because when you experience them, it's so obvious that yes, of course, this is the thing.
Yeah, that's the silliness. And there's a gentleness of like towards the silliness too, of like gratefulness of finally realizing like, oh right, flow's great, these things I can access it. It feels like a revealing of path and purpose, for lack of better words.
So what I'm hearing is that as you witness the silliness, that you approach it with kindness, with gentleness, just kind of being like, oh yeah, of course, the flow state is great. Okay, whatever. And giving yourself some slack if you sometimes do flail yourself over missing that, and I think I missed something.
That was the time too. Just
Okay,
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
I missed something at the end.
there was
I think
but
we
it's
have
fine.
time for one more, Brandon, and then we'd go back. And Cody, sometimes it's helpful if like at the 5 minutes to closing, you send out a broadcast, so just a heads up, like you as the host can just go in there to the messaging, say, 5 minutes till closing or something. That'll be in 3 minutes, right? Yeah.
Got it. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. Okay, Daryl. So you and I, Daryl, haven't interacted before until this, but I've seen you around the Stoa. I've noticed you before. And I was always like kind of curious, mysterious about how kind of your head's always kind of half in the frame, half not, kind of just the angle of your camera, and that you're looking up at the screen. It's not right in front of you. It's always been a little bit mysterious to me.
So I'm hearing that there's a way that my digital presence hasn't had an impact on you, and that impact is of curiosity or confusion or mystery or not fully understanding who I am.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, mystery, and even a little bit of intimidation, just because like you're kind of just, at least in my perception, that you just are kind of like not there. You're kind of just set back and not looking at the camera, and it's not a problem. It's just that's the feeling that I've had around it. And now that I've interacted with you in such an intimate space, all of that has washed away.
So I'm hearing transformation, or the possibility of transformation and perspective, and I'm hearing the washing away sounds really powerful to me for you, and I'm also feeling empathetic around kind of a little bit of discomfort that maybe I've given you and other people in the Stoa by my aloofness, my digital aloofness.
I wouldn't say that the washing away is not powerful. That's not the feeling that I'm experiencing. It's more just like just a pleasant lightness, and kind of like just like a pleasant surprise. Not even a surprise, because it's not like I ever thought that you were someone scary. It's just kind of like making me notice how often that happens, that I'll perceive someone and then attach a story to them, and that keeps me from connecting with them, you know. And yeah.
So yeah, I'm noticing you picking your words really carefully, as you mentioned earlier, and I like that there's more clarity and specificity coming into what's up for you, and I'm yeah, huh. I'm feeling something. I don't know how to describe it, but it's positive.
So I'm struggling right now a little bit and feeling anxious, because although I appreciate your reflections, or the feelings that you're sharing, I feel that most of what you've been saying the last couple of times has not been a reflection of what I'm saying, but more about like what your experience has been of what I said, which has been lovely to hear. And I just feel like I don't want to like make you wrong. It's not but I want you to know that that's what's going on, and it's making me feel this way, because both I want to be reflected in this moment, and I also like want you to understand like what's going on from the speaker's perspective.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, that was actually what I was trying to articulate, but couldn't articulate near the end of my last time I said something. So I hear you saying that you're struggling with a little bit of the way I'm participating in this, and I'm hearing that you're not sure how to address it, but I'm also hearing that you did address it, and so I'm gonna listen for more from you.
Oh, oof. Oh. That's hard. That was hard for me to both like say what I said in the last round, and then to listen to you adjusting. Like it feels both icky that like I controlled you somehow, but also satisfying that like I, you know, helped you learn or something. And yeah, there's tension there.
So yeah, I'm hearing that I'm hearing that you're struggling with showing up for yourself, and that you're also wanting to show up for yourself at the same time, and that you're also challenged by the fact that by standing up for yourself, you actually could have somebody respond in a positive way and accept your request, rather than I'm projecting, get defensive or get or be unable to change.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
I feel
close
heard.
enough? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So it's just we're kind of out of time here. It sounds like
Yeah.
to be continued. So there's more there. So yeah, great. Thanks everyone. So
Thanks,
Cody, I
Daryl.
think we need to go back. We have just 15 minutes according to my clock.
Perfect.
So thanks everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think are we all back, or is there still another group?
I think there's another group.
Okay, give it a minute. Ah, there we go. Yay, yay, the others are back. Great, well, welcome back everyone. We have about 13 minutes or so for the close. And we want to just go around to take about 30 seconds. Like, how was that experience? Like, what were the benefits and maybe the challenges of taking part in that circle? And I'll just call on everyone here on the screen. I'll just go across. So Erin, would you be willing to check in first?
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the circle as I have before, and I thought it was really neat because I, first circle learned a lot about what I might be able to learn and what skills that I could build, and then I think this one was really cool because we got to explore a little bit more deeply into the experience of it, and also some of the challenges in it, and that was very cool for me. And I think there was kind of a general topic of like transformation and change, and so that was also a thread through it that I really enjoyed because it's something that's very important to me, in my work. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Well, thanks, Erin. Daryl, do you want to go next? And I'll just put a link in too to the training so that'll be there if you're interested in the training. I just noticed a couple of people had already signed up, so that'll be the place to sign up. So take it away, Daryl.
Oh, thanks for that link. I think the big takeaway here is that I got called out for kind of not following the format, or got named that there were some ways in which I wasn't showing up in the way that was desirable by another person in the group, and I worked really hard to hear that person and to honor the request in that, and the other person indicated that they were pretty blown away by it, and were kind of almost challenged by like receiving what they asked for. So it's kind of like, be careful what you ask for, you just might get it, sort of thing. Moment there is my understanding of what the other person's experience was, and so it just makes me wonder deeper, like there's a way that all this social change or things we want to have in the world, but do we really want them? Like, if that happened, what would we do? It would kind of blow our identity up, and we don't know what else we'd want to have in the world, or we'd have to think about it. So I feel like social change sometimes doesn't happen because moving too fast would actually take away something deeper we're not acknowledging. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Daryl. Philip, would you like to go next?
Yeah, but can you repeat your question just one more time for me?
It's what did you like about the process, and maybe any challenges?
Sure.
Or whatever's alive for you. Yeah.
I think, well, I said the same thing in my group. I think for the world we live in right now with conflict, that learning how to have hard conversations, and not pigeonhole people or label them before you know what their label means, I guess, is important. If somebody says I have this identity, before you make the assumption of what that identity is to you, let's hear what their identity is to them. And I think this is an opportunity to, with a conflicted world, hear, hear what people really think without, I guess, the fear right away of conflict, or maybe a healthier way to handle conflict. Does that answer your question? I don't know if
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel
Yeah,
like,
so you're seeing it as a way of addressing conflicts. That's one of the benefits, and that's one of the huge benefits that I see as well. So for mediation, definitely. So thank you. Cody?
Yeah, I had a great experience. I mean, at first it was very personal for me to even be here, and just kind of amazed how beautiful this practice is, and kind of feeling gratitude for that. And then it was really cool to just kind of dialogue and open up and hear other then watch the practice take shape, and just watch how it works, and be kind of a see its inner workings, and then like kind of meta dialogue on the inner workings. And yeah, just really grateful to be here today. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, great. And I see you signed up for the training. Yay.
I'll be there.
Brandon?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm feeling really grateful to be here too today. I want to thank Kelly for pointing me in the direction of this space. And one takeaway that I have that I shared in my group is simply just how much knowing that I'm going to be reflecting helps me to slow down and give space and speak for my body. And just knowing from my experience how much easier it is to reflect when it's coming from there, and to yeah, empathy is just easier when it's coming from an embodied place. And yeah, I also experienced a little struggle around not being reflected, and expressing the fact that I didn't feel that I was being reflected, and glad that I expressed that, and feeling both empowered by that interaction, and also still a little bit shaken by it. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks.
guys.
Diane?
Hi, so I liked it. I had a good time. Found it very fascinating, and it was interesting, yeah, how we started out just talking about the experience of the empathy circle, and then we had some injection of some topics that were controversial topics, and people had different opinions, and it was really interesting. This was the third time I did the empathy circle, and each experience was quite different in terms of how the how it went. Like one, we talked a lot about our families, another one something else, and just different things. And so it was good. It was very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Thanks. Lori?
Well, I want to thank Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan, who told his mom, Shoshana, who told Diane, who told me. And it was very funny that Edwin put Diane, Shoshana, and me in the same room, and then Philip, because most of us had a lot in common, and some of us know each other for 30 plus years. So maybe 40. So it was interesting. But one thing that I really got out of today was I felt like I'm not alone. I felt like it was good to hear people talking about topics that I think in my head so many times, am I the only one that's going through all of this? But people are all going through things, especially in light of all the stuff around the vaccine and the COVID and the politics and all this other stuff. And it kind of like just helped me say, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. And I did have a lot of anxiety about doing this because I'm not very good at listening yet, but I'm having a lot of hope that this is going to help me with listening and also with conflict resolution. So thank you.
Thanks, Shoshana. You're muted. Yep.
Yeah, so we all had a big laugh because Cody, I think, is the one who put us in the room together. And so there were 4 of us who've known each other. One of them I've known his whole life, and the other 2 I've known for 35 or so years, invited them all to the empathy circle. And we just giggled that we gave God, the sovereignty of God got us in the room together. That's what we decided it was. And it was really interesting that we don't have all the same views. You know, we did get into some controversial topics, and it was just very peaceful talking about our different views. And it really showed me that I'm very impressed about holding the space. It's such a unique space to have these parameters. And I remember one week, one of the trainers said that the process, which Daryl referred to the process earlier, he said that the boundaries of keeping the process really helps people feel safe. And that's the space. This is a safe space. At least that's one of the goals, I think. And yeah, I'm just very grateful to be here and be part of this process. And I'm grateful to my son for introducing me to the process. And I'm grateful to Edwin for creating this process and making it available to us.
Thanks, Shoshana. Yeah, I see it as a safe enough space. So, Ron?
Yeah, I think this is maybe my 7th time, and very different because of the room size difference made it a very different flavor. Always were larger rooms. And in fact, one of our, Sahil had to leave early, so we were down to 3. So that was a very different experience. If you don't mind me quoting you, Kelly, I think he called it a 3-way death match once we were down to 3 people. So it was kind of interesting because we were just a triangle going around each other. And it was really interesting to talk about all of our views of this process and collective practices larger, because that's kind of one of Peter's missions, I think, you know, is to kind of take this meta look at all of these different collective practices and how they fit together and what we might learn from them. And yeah, I always find it very challenging, and yet I want to keep coming back because I like the challenge, being pressed into this tighter container, because it's making me realize that muscle of listening needs a little more work. But it does feel like, to me, like exercise in a way. It does feel like being pressed in a container and being a bit intense. But I'm liking it. And it can be applied to the other kinds of practices I attend. So
Great,
thank you.
thanks.
All.
Kelly, you want to?
Yeah, this has been funny because it's like, I'm like almost, I was actually gonna message my mom and be like, is there anyone here that one of us didn't invite? But maybe there is, I don't know. But it's funny just because like my cyber name online persona is just dissolving away into real life connections. Sorry to those of you that are not knowing what I'm talking about. But anyways, but yeah, my actual session was pretty, I was in the 3-way death match. It was like kind of intense, like Ron was saying, where it got to that point where it's like, there's no break, that it's like, well, the other 2 people are talking, so I'll be next. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have any, it was more that kind of, having done a number of these, there's some familiarity with the different ways that it goes. So for me, this was like a sort of pleasant, resonating kind of, we were getting on a train of thought a little bit. Things were coming, interweaving, as one person said. So yeah, it was good. Good times. I had a nice session. Nice to see you all, and happy to share this fun and interesting space with everyone.
Great, thanks. Victoria, you Are you still there? You're muted if you are. You're
She had
said
written.
there was too much noise in
okay.
the
She had to-
background
yeah,
for her to
okay,
participate.
Yeah. All right, right. Okay, so that's the circle for today. I think January 10th will be the next one. We'll do one more of these, and then the 17th we'll start with the facilitator training. That will be 5 sessions, and then after that, we hope that as you know, if you're taking the training, that you'll help keep this going and kind of spread it through the Stoa. So with that, thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you in the next empathy circle.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye,
all.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks for
What's
hosting,
the Stoa?
Shoshana.
What's the Stoa?
That's this organization that we're doing this through. It's for Stoics. It's an organization that had to do a lot of different workshops and so forth.
Thank you. That was good. Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for hosting, Ron. And
Website is in the chat. It's thestoa.ca.
Yep, you can go there and see the different events that are going on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and lots of experimenting with collective practices going on, so that's cool.
Okay. Thanks.
Take care all.